In 845 days, we made $1.268 million from email marketing as one of our marketing channels. And it cost us basically next to nothing. We made a 97-to-1 return on it. In this video, I'm going to break down how we did it and how that's affecting our strategy for 2026. Now, if you're new to these daily updates, just a quick update in terms of how we're doing them. I'm just coming live every day to talk through what I'm focusing on in the business. We do three main things. We're going to do a YouTube comment Q&A. If you've got questions about how this applies to your business or any help that you would like in your business, just comment on any of the YouTube videos and we'll go through and give you advice. It's a great hack for engagement on YouTube too. Number two, we're going to build and strategize in public as we're scaling our business from $1.2 million a year up to $1 million a month by the end of the year. And we really just want to document as we go. Now, this is actually the second time I've recorded this video. I just finished recording it and realized it wasn't recording. We are recording now, so hopefully we'll do it well this time. So I'm just going to go through my notes and we'll cover it off just like I covered the first time around. So to give you some context on this, we sent 8 million emails in that time frame from the 1st of July 2023 through till the 23rd of October 2025. This was the time frame that we actually did this inside of. Inside of that time frame, we had 34% open rates and 0.53% click-through rates. Now, just so you guys know, we've had a little bit of a drop in this performance in the last, 6 to 12 months. Now we're getting about 26 to 30% open rates and about 0.3 to 0.35%. Probably a big factor here is just that our list is growing in size and we've had more leads coming in, but it also could be a reflection on the state of email marketing today. But still, it's very profitable for us. Like I said, we get a 97-to-1 return. So let me break down how this actually works and what we ended up with. So we spent in this time frame $13,766 and 25 cents on email marketing, and it produced $1.268 million for us. So to give you kind of a rough estimate here in terms of what that is, I mean, it's about 400 to 500K a year roughly in terms of the return that we're actually getting on the marketing. To 97-to-1. Needless to say, this is our most profitable channel. And these emails that we're writing, it really takes us about 15 to 20 minutes a day to actually produce this content. It's very, very easy for us to do. And so I used to outsource this at one point. I did that for about 30 days before I quickly realized this is one of the most valuable things that I do in my business. And I literally do it before I even start my day. Now, in that time frame, we sent daily emails. And so on average, in a 365-day calendar time frame, we would send about 425 emails. And so one of the factors here is really important to understand is that we do daily emails, but every 3 months we'll do a promotion. And so these promos are typically 4 to 5 days in length. And in that promo, we'll sometimes send upwards of 20 to 30 emails in a 4-day window. So on the first day, we might send 3 emails. Typically, we'll say, hey, unsubscribe now. We're about to be heavily promoting for 4 days. So if you don't want to read our promo emails, just unsubscribe. If not, hang around. That's a great strategy, by the way. It really helps people stay and not get upset about the emails. And we'll send like 3 to 4 a day and then about 6 to 8 on the last day. Now, we run these promos 4 times a year and we do them typically every 3 months. We call these 90-day cash cycles. We bring in about 30 to 35% of the revenue in the year from these promos. And so it's a massively great return on time and investment. I think I calculated my hourly rate from this and it was something like 15K an hour when I worked out how much money I made from the amount of time invested. I don't even know what that says, 15K an hour. So this is a very, very good return on your time that you're putting in. Now, in that time, just to give you some of the stats and the facts here, we started off with an email list of about 6,000 people and we actually grew it to 15,000 people. That's our current list size. We sent 8 million emails. We had 2.74 million opens. We got 42,000 clicks in that time. And we also had 20,000 unsubscribes. Now, a lot of people worry about unsubscribes. I always talk about this because it's a huge factor. Most people don't send daily emails because they're worried about people unsubscribing, which is not very smart. Think of it this way. If you had a store and it was an in-person store, and let's say you opened 1 day per week, you would have less people walking out of your shop than if you opened for 7 days a week, right? But why would you open 7 days a week if instead of 10 people walking out, 120 people walked out? Well, because of sales, because when you open for 7 days a week, people can see you're open and they're way more likely to come in, but you also make more money. It's the same with daily emails. And so don't worry about unsubscribes. It's one of the worst metrics for you to focus on. Unsubscribes are healthy. It keeps your list clean. It keeps the right people opening. And I wouldn't be upset because somebody came in, saw what we had to offer, and then said, I'm actually not interested. I want those people to leave. Okay. So those are the top level stats. Now, I want to talk through one of the most important principles with this, which is email volume, because a lot of you are sending emails, but you're not really doing it well, or you're not really doing it at all, and you're not sending that much volume. So let me give you some examples here. Let's say, for example, you've got 10,000 people on your email list. And based on the averages that we saw above, right, we're getting about 0.53% is our click-through rate average across 3 years. It's now like 0.3. So let's look at this with two different levels. Number one would be a 0.5% click-through rate. We see clients with a 1% click-through rate, and then we'll also look at 0.25, half of that. And so that should give you a good estimate. So if you've got 10,000 people on your list and you email them once a month, then that's going to generate you 50 clicks at the 0.5% level, right? Or 25 clicks at the different level. Instead, if you email every week, that's 4 times a month, you're actually going to get 200 clicks instead, right? And so 200 clicks is actually 4 times as much. Would you believe it, right? Or 100 clicks if you've got a 0.5% rate. Now, what's really interesting here is that if you email Monday through Friday and then you have the weekend off, a typical month has around about 22 days in it on average. So instead of emailing once a week or once a month, if you actually email Monday through Friday every day, then the amount of clicks that you generate goes up to 1,100 clicks, or 550 if it's half of that. If you email every day, it's 1,550 clicks. So this is massive, because you're going here from, not really getting any level of interest in your email marketing, 50-ish clicks, maybe 100 clicks, 200 clicks, to getting like 1,500 clicks. Now, whether you're sending those people in those emails to an application, a video sales letter, a Google Doc, or even just directly to a call, a typical conversion rate for an application is about 3%. We actually have much higher rates than this. We have a minimum viable calendar that gets us about 10% throughput. But if you had 3% of those clicks going through and booking a call, that would be an extra 46 sales calls a month. And so you can see, and this is just with an email list size of 10,000 people, how you can create a massive amount of throughput just by sending emails and sending clicks through to it every single month. This is one of the big reasons that we still continue to do this in our brand, is it creates a heck of a lot of throughput. Now, the two big benefits that you're going to get from sending emails on a regular basis and really sending them daily is a double-parted equation. So you've got this, which is what we would call the direct response approach, which is, you're going to make more money in the funnel, you're going to get more throughput. But the really important thing to understand, and arguably what's more important today, is actually the brand component. And so when you send daily emails, you're showing up in people's inboxes every single day. When you send these emails, you're sharing stories. If you write these the right way, we recommend story-based emails as you go through this process. And when you send these story-based emails, you're sharing a little bit about you, what's going on in your world. And we always talk about having characters in your world. Every email that you send, people should just get to know you a little bit better with every single email. And so, take yesterday, for example. I went yesterday to football, and I play football every single week. And one of the guys at football ran into me. His name's Tommy. And I've got like a dead leg, like my leg was killing. And, today I woke up and my leg is still killing. I literally can't bend down. And this is probably going to be the email that I end up telling in my story today, in the email that I'm going to send, because we want to share with people who are listening the stuff that's going on in our lives. The more people understand about what we're doing, what's going on in our lives, the other characters in our lives, like I talk about my dogs, Celsi and Corazon. I talk about Madison, my partner. We talk about friends like Ewan and Simon that we play football with. And the more people can understand about the characters in your lives, the more they come to really appreciate you and your brand, and really just understand you a lot more on a lot deeper level. And if you get people that literally are following along and they know where you are in the world, where you're traveling to, and what's going on with you and the loved ones in your lives, you're winning from a brand perspective. And that's a big component of this that most people underestimate with sending emails regularly. And then the other side is direct marketing, which is the money. Not only are we going to get more people into the funnel, but now, especially as brand becomes more important, and we talk about this a lot, you're going to be able to get more time on content. Not only are people going to be reading these emails, which is time on content, you're also going to be able to send them to the videos, the podcasts that you do, and ultimately get them to consume more minutes of content, which ultimately makes them much more likely to become a customer. Now, in these videos, I don't really go into the tactics of how to write these emails. We actually share this inside of our Media Firestorm program. If you want to get booked on podcasts, to actually grow your list, and you want help with, how to write these emails and have the templates and strategies we use, you can just click the link down in the description of this video. You can find out more details. emails. Just so you guys know, when we grew our list, we did it through podcast interviews. That was the whole strategy. We weren't on social media. We literally did nothing but that. And we had 10,000 people in our Facebook group in 2021. And we've actually grown it now to 45,000 people. In that 2-year time horizon between when we were at 10,000 members and when we got to 45,000, it's about 2 years, 2.5 years. We had 35,000 people join the group. 76% of those people gave us their email address. And so we were actually able to add about 20 to 26,000 leads to our email list in a little over 2 years, completely for free, organically, right? And it was just because we did those podcast interviews. So if you want help producing content, let us know. Come find out about that process. Inside of Media Firestorm, we talk about the strategy that we use for our emails, which is how our clients are able to write these emails in 15 to 20 minutes a day. We use something we call the 80-20 story emails. And so what's cool about the 80-20 approach is most people, what they do is they open up their email editor and they say, okay, what am I going to write about today? And when they do that, the problem with that is that the emails, they become very business focused and people run out of ideas of what to talk about and then they don't write the emails. And so what we do with our clients and what we show them to do is that when you come in and you write an email, first of all, you probably are going to want to have it to be about 200 to 400 words. Shorter is typically better unless you've got a really entertaining story or something that's going to be intrinsically valuable to share. Most people aren't super entertaining in the beginning, so we get them to write shorter stories. And what we're going to do is when you sit down to write this email, the very first thing you do is you don't think about the business at all. You just tell a story of something that happened in the last 24 to 48 hours. So the story of me going to football, getting run over, getting a dead leg, and literally being like a grandpa this morning where I couldn't bend down to get the milk out of the counter. I was like, Madison, come help me. I can't get this out. That's an email that I would write. I would tell that story of, I was at football and I got, run over by this guy. And once you tell the story in about 100, 200 words, maybe a little bit more if it's an interesting and funny story. When we tell that story, people are hearing about me, my friends, what I'm doing for football, the stuff that's going on in my personal life, or maybe I'm talking about a story that happened in business. That's world building, right? And we want to do world building. It's like, if you think about a show like The Office, for example, people hated the first season of The Office, and then they changed the way they wrote it in the second season. And what they did is then every single episode, at the end of the episode, they gave characters redeemable moments. So Michael Scott, who is the guy that runs The Office, played by Steve Carell, he was an idiot in the first season and everybody hated him. And then what they did was they gave him these redeemable moments where he went to Chili's and he actually turned out to be a good salesperson and he won a deal, or he actually turned out to be the best and most profitable manager in the whole company. And so the weird eccentric stuff he did actually turned into him being the best. He had one of these situations where Pam's art show, nobody came and he was the only person that came. Not only did he go, he tried to buy one of her paintings, and so he was kind. And so in each of these episodes, you get to see these little moments of these characters where you grow to love them one episode at a time. And arguably The Office is one of the greatest and most beloved TV series that exists in the world today. And that's what you want to do with your emails. With every email you send, you want people to just know a little bit more about who you are with every email that goes out. Now, here's what you do. After you write the story, which is where you get people to connect with you and the brand and you personally, we have what we call like a transition. And so in this email where I just talked about getting run down and having pain in my leg from football, I would probably do a business transition where it's like, yeah, and sometimes in business, you also get hit by a Mack truck and things get really hard and you're limited and you can't do things in the same way that you did before. That's why it's really important for us to have something sustainable that runs every week that drives sales in the business. Podcasts grow your list, and with simple emails, you can have consistent calls coming in. Those two things become the backbone that will keep you stable, just like me asking Madison to help me get stuff from under the counter. And so you have some kind of business transition that you talk about that makes the story relevant to how you can help them in the business. So that's how you'd have a transition at the end, and then you would just have a very simple, soft call to action that would say, by the way, if you want to get booked on 15 high-quality podcasts in the next 90 days so we can help you build your brand and make money in the process, click this link. Right? 15 podcasts in 90 days would be the call to action. Take care, Jamie. So actually having these emails going out every day, when you do it story-based first, it becomes very simple. And again, we show you how to do this specifically in Media Firestorm. It's just kind of a top-level strategy of how to write these. We give you lots of examples and how to do this actually inside the program. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about really quick. What we're changing in 2026 to double down on this strategy, because all of that already happened, right? So there's two things that we can do to really help us accelerate this and what we're going to do with email marketing to have have more success. The first one is list size. The second one is time on content. And so if you think about this, we had 44,000 clicks, right, in 845 days from a list of about 15,000 people. If we had a list that was 10 times the size, we would get 10 times the clicks. And so in 2026, one of our questions that we're asking is, how do we go from having 15,000 people to 150,000 people on the list, right? How do we get 10 times the size? Because that will deliver 10 times the results. And so two main ways that we've done this and what we're focusing on, one is content. And so doing this content, putting it out there, doing more podcast episodes on bigger shows, also putting out these daily YouTube pieces. This is a big thing. Growing the brand and producing content is going to drive more people onto the list. And this is a really big thing. By the way, if you want to see some of our daily emails, click the link down below. You can join our email list. We would love to have you there. The second thing that we're looking into this year, but transparently we haven't done yet, is front-end offers. So if you think about this process, essentially what we're looking to do here is you run ads, you sell a product that's about $100, and ultimately that $100 you make pays for the ads. So you make $0, but what you end up with is a customer that actually joined your email list. And so if you can make $0 but gain a customer, you start off by maybe running $100 of ads a day, then you go up to 1,000, then you go up to 10,000 a day. And ultimately, the more money that you can spend, the more customers you're acquiring. This is actually what one of our clients did, Connor. He's got 150,000 buyers on his email list because they run $300,000 of ads every month and they make, a bunch of money on the back end, and it more than pays for the ad spend. So this is something we're going to look to do this year to increase the amount of people who are on the list. The second thing is how we're using emails today is actually focused a lot more on time on content. So we talk about this a lot. Obviously, you're watching content right now. You're experiencing me. You're hearing about what we talk about. We're telling you our documented process of how we're growing a business, but maybe you're taking some stuff away from this. And so the other thing we're going to do is, as we use emails, we're also going to be driving more people to consuming more content. And so, how do we send people to actually open more emails? How do we send people to watch more videos? How do we get people to go consume podcast episodes? That's my podcast icon. Looks a bit like a snowman, right? How do we get people to read Medium articles that maybe we wrote? And the goal here is just consumption. How do we get you to consume so that you spend more minutes watching the content? Because the more minutes we can get you to consume, the more likely you are to buy. So that's everything we're thinking about when it comes to email marketing. If you haven't tried email marketing, or if you're doing it badly, dude, get in the ring, get into the arena. Really important to understand is you need to make sure that if you're sending emails, that you've got at least 20% to 25% plus open rates. Anything below that, and you're going to have delivery issues. Now, if your open rates are lower than this, we do have a deliverability partner we use. His name's Troy. He runs a company called emailmarketing.com. One of the best URLs in the world for email marketing. And he always gives me really good deals and looks after the customers that I send him his way. So if you've got a big email list and your open rates are below 20% and you want to have much better deliverability, just shoot me a message on Instagram at Jamie Atkinson. You can DM me with the word like Troy or email, and I'll know what it's about and I can help you guys get connected with him. All right, hope you enjoy this video. Stick around. We'll do more daily updates coming up in the near future.